Uh, Virgo, have you ever walked into a room and felt something in the air before anything was said? Before a single word was spoken, before any obvious evidence presented itself, just the quality of the atmosphere, the specific, almost physical sense that something significant had just occurred or was about to occur or was in the process of occurring in a way that had not yet become visible, but that was already undeniably, unmistakably present in the texture of the air itself. That feeling, that is the energy around you right now. Something is in the air, something that has been building pressure in a contained space for a very long time, longer than you know, longer than the people involved would want you to know, something that was sealed intentionally, with deliberate effort, by someone who understood that what they were containing had the potential to change everything if it found its way into the open air. They have been working to keep it sealed, and the seal is failing. Let me tell you about secrets before I tell you about this one. Because understanding what secrets actually are, what they cost the people who keep them, and what they do to the people they are kept from, is important context for everything that follows. A secret is not simply information that has not been shared. That would be privacy. And privacy is neutral. Privacy is the ordinary, appropriate, completely healthy maintenance of one's own interior. The things you have not told people yet because the time has not been right, or the trust has not been established, or the thing itself is still being processed before it can be offered outward. A secret is different. A secret is information that is being actively kept from someone who has a right to it. That is being managed and monitored and carefully contained by someone who is making an ongoing, daily, effortful decision to ensure that a particular person does not come to know a particular thing. Not because the thing is theirs alone and privacy is appropriate, but because they know, on some level, they always know that the person they are keeping it from would be affected by knowing it, would make different decisions with it, would see things differently, would perhaps see them differently. A secret is power held over someone without their knowledge. And the person holding this one has been holding it for a long time. Hmm. I want to go into who this person is, not with a name or a category that fits neatly into a label, but with the specific energetic texture of what I feel when I sit with this person's presence in your reading. This is not a stranger. This is someone with proximity, someone who has had access to you in some meaningful sense, who has been in your life in a way that afforded them the opportunity to know things about your circumstances, about your relationships, about the specific landscape of your life and what matters in it and where the tender places are. That proximity was not accidental. And I want to sit with that for a moment because I feel it is important. The closeness this person has had, the access they have been granted, the position they have occupied in your world or in the world of someone connected to you, it was either sought or cultivated or at minimum maintained in part because of what it gave them access to. Not necessarily consciously, not necessarily with the cold, deliberate calculation of someone who planned from the beginning to be in possession of something they could use. Human motivation is rarely that clean. But the dynamic that exists between you and this person, and the secret sitting at the center of it, is not unrelated to the proximity. The secret exists partly because of the access. And the access was maintained partly because of the secret. Let me pull the cards now because they have been pressing since the beginning of this reading, and what they are showing has a specificity I want to deliver in its full texture. The first card is the High Priestess. And the High Priestess appearing first in this reading is significant in a way that goes beyond her conventional meaning. Because the High Priestess is the keeper of hidden things. She sits between two pillars, one dark and one light, and she holds a scroll she has not fully unrolled. She knows more than she reveals. She always knows more than she reveals. And the question she poses to whoever encounters her is not what is the hidden thing. The question is whether you are ready to receive what has been kept from you. Her appearance here says something specific. What is coming is not going to be comfortable, not in the way that good news is uncomfortable because it is larger than you expected, in the way that truth is uncomfortable when it reorganizes your understanding of something you thought you already understood. When it asks you to go back through a history you thought you had mapped accurately and redraw the map with new information, that kind of discomfort, the High Priestess does not apologize for it. She simply says the scroll is about to be unrolled, and what is on it has been there the whole time. You were simply not yet in possession of the full length of it. The second card is the Tower, and I want to speak about this card carefully because of how it tends to land when people encounter it, and because the way it actually applies to your situation is more nuanced than its surface reputation suggests. The Tower is not coming for you. I want to say that first and clearly. The Tower in this position, in this reading, is not describing something that is going to collapse in your life. It is describing something that is already collapsing in the life of the person holding the secret, a structure they built, the specific, carefully constructed architecture of the version of reality they have been maintaining. The arrangement of facts and narratives and carefully positioned pieces of information that has kept a particular picture intact, that picture is cracking. The Tower comes when something built on an unsound foundation meets enough weight to reveal the unsoundness. And what is happening right now in the actual circumstances of this person's life is that the weight has accumulated beyond what the foundation can quietly absorb. Something is pressing through. The cracks are visible to people close enough to see them. And what falls when the tower falls is not truth. Truth does not fall with the tower. Truth is what remains when the tower comes down. What falls is the constructed version, the managed version, the version that required ongoing effort and vigilance to maintain. When it falls, what remains is the real picture. And the real picture includes you seeing something clearly that you were not able to see before. The third card is the Page of Swords, and this card is the mechanism, the how of what is coming rather than the what. The Page of Swords is the card of information in motion, of a truth that has found its legs and is moving, of something that was stationary, contained, successfully held in one place, that has begun to travel through conversation, through circumstance, through the specific, unpredictable channels that information travels when the people responsible for containing it can no longer contain it completely. Something has been said, or something has been seen that should not have been seen, or something has been discovered in the ordinary course of events by someone who was not meant to discover it, or someone who was holding a piece of this, keeping a portion of the secret for reasons of their own, has reached the limit of what they are willing to hold and has let something through. The page is running, the information is moving, and its destination is you. Does something in you feel this already? That specific atmospheric sense of something approaching that has not yet fully arrived? Have you noticed something recently in the behavior of people around you? A shift in quality, a certain kind of careful, a look exchanged too quickly, a conversation that changed direction when you entered? Something in the dynamic of a particular relationship that has felt slightly off in a way you could not quite pinpoint. Let me know in the comments one word for what has been sitting in you that you have not yet found the right frame for. Because I think many of you came to this reading today already feeling the pressure of something approaching, already sensing the charge in the air, already knowing on some level that something was moving in your direction without being able to name what the something was. This reading is giving it a name. Now I need to speak to what the secret actually contains because I have been building the atmosphere of it, and the atmosphere is real, but it is not the thing itself, and you deserve the thing itself as fully as I can deliver it. What is being kept from you is a truth about what actually happened, not what you were told happened, not the version that was presented to you with the specific framing that served the person doing the presenting, the actual sequence of events, the actual motivations, the actual choices that were made and by whom and for what reasons and with what knowledge of what the consequences for you would be. You have been operating from a version of events that was curated, not perhaps in every detail, not necessarily in a way that invented things wholesale from nothing, but curated in the specific, effective way that selective omission creates, where everything that was shown to you was technically true and the shape created by those true things was fundamentally misleading because of what was left out of the frame. You have been seeing a portion of the painting and believing you are seeing the whole canvas. The rest of the canvas is coming into view. And when it does, when the full picture is finally visible to you, you are going to experience a specific, breathtaking, slightly disorienting moment of recognition. Not of new information exactly, of confirmation, because some part of you has always sensed the edges of what was missing, has always felt the slight wrongness in the frame, has registered in the quiet and accurate way that your perception always registers things, that something was not quite matching up, that the explanation you were given for something had a quality of being slightly too smooth, slightly too convenient, slightly too perfectly shaped to produce the specific effect of not having to look more closely. You felt the edges. You were about to see what they were the edges of. Let me speak now to what this moment of revelation is going to feel like, because I want to prepare you not to manage it, but to meet it. There will be a moment of stillness first, before the feeling arrives, before the processing begins, before any of the responses that are appropriate to what you are receiving have a chance to surface, a moment of pure, unmediated taking in, where what you are hearing or reading or understanding lands in you before you have had time to do anything with it. that moment is going to feel like the world reorganizing, like the specific sensation of something that has been slightly crooked in your vision of your own life suddenly clicking into alignment. Like looking at one of those images that contains two pictures and suddenly seeing the second one and understanding that it was always there, that your eye was simply not calibrated to find it yet. And then the feeling, whatever feeling is appropriate for your specific situation. Whatever combination of grief and anger and relief and vindication and sadness and the particular exhaustion of someone who has been right about something for a long time without the proof to stand on, all of it is appropriate. All of it deserves space. All of it is the correct response to receiving a truth you have been kept from. Let it arrive without editing. Do not immediately reach for the composed response. Do not rush yourself toward the mature, processed, already integrated version of receiving this that you imagine is the appropriate way to handle it. Let the first moment be what it actually is. You have earned the right to an unedited first moment. I want to speak to something now that I feel is the most important thing in this reading and that I have been moving toward carefully. The secret coming out is going to rewrite something. Not your future, not who you are or what you are capable of or the quality of what you carry. Those things are not determined by what someone else concealed from you and are not changed by its revelation. What gets rewritten is your understanding of your own past, and specifically your understanding of your own responses to that past. Because here is what secrets do to the people they are kept from: they create a gap between the person's perception and the reality they are perceiving. And when a person's perception does not match reality, the natural human response is not to assume the reality is wrong. It is to assume the perception is wrong. To assume that what you felt, what you sensed, what did not quite add up in ways you could not explain was the product of some error in you rather than an absence of information you were entitled to have. You have been doubting yourself in specific targeted ways that align precisely with the places where the secret was doing its work. Questioning your own reading of situations that deserve to be questioned, not because your reading was inaccurate, but because what you were reading was incomplete. Telling yourself you were overreacting to things that deserved exactly the reaction you were having. Carrying a confused and conflicted relationship to your own instincts because your instincts kept landing somewhere that the available information did not support. When the secret comes out, you are going to understand why. You are going to look back at specific moments, specific feelings, specific times you overrode what you knew because you could not justify it with what you had access to, and you are going to see them clearly for the first time. You were not confused. You were working with incomplete information. And there is an enormous difference between those two things. Let me speak to the aftermath, because what happens after the secret breaks is as important as the breaking. There will be a reckoning. Not a dramatic one necessarily, not a confrontation with raised voices and definitive statements and the clean resolution of something that has been wrong for a long time. Real reckonings rarely arrive with that kind of clarity of form. Real reckonings tend to be quieter than that, more interior. The specific work of someone who has just received a piece of information that changes the map and now has to renavigate with the new map toward something that still makes sense. You will be doing that work. and I want to say something about the quality you will bring to it. Virgo does not renegotiate their reality carelessly. You will not react impulsively. You will not perform a response for the benefit of the people who are watching to see how you handle this. You will take what has been revealed and you will sit with it in the specific, methodical, deeply private way that you process the things that actually matter to you. You will examine it from multiple angles. You will be fair to yourself and even now, probably too fair to the people who were not fair to you. That fairness is both your gift and the thing I want to gently challenge. The truth coming out is not a moment to practice your fairness toward the person who concealed it. It is a moment to practice your fairness toward yourself, to give your own experience the full weight it deserves, to look at what you were kept from and let yourself understand clearly what that concealment cost you in decisions you made, in time you spent, in energy you invested, in the specific, real, unmistakable cost of navigating your own life without access to information that belonged to you. That cost is real. Let yourself account for it honestly before you extend the generosity that will inevitably come because it is part of who you are. The generosity can wait. The accounting deserves to come first. And there is something else coming through that I want to name before we close. Something about the other people in this situation, the ones adjacent to the secret, the ones who knew or suspected or held pieces without holding the whole. Some of them are relieved it is coming out. There is a specific quality of relief in the energy around this situation that does not belong to you and does not belong to the person who has been holding the central secret. It belongs to someone or several someones who have been in the uncomfortable position of knowing something and not knowing what to do with knowing it, who have felt the specific moral discomfort of proximity to a concealment they did not choose and could not easily exit, who have perhaps made their own calculation about timing and consequence and what they were willing to risk in order to say something. That calculation has been completed, and what comes out will carry the weight of more than one person's truth reaching the surface simultaneously. You will not only be receiving one revelation, you will be receiving the accumulated pressure of multiple things that have been held from you finally finding the opening they have been looking for. It will be a lot to hold. Hold it anyway. You are stronger than you currently believe you are. You have been strong enough to navigate your life without information you deserve to have. Imagine what becomes possible when you finally have it. As we move toward the close, I want to speak to the gift inside this disruption, because there is one, and it would be dishonest to deliver a reading about something difficult without naming what it opens. Clarity is a gift, even when it arrives through discomfort, even when what becomes clear is something that would have been easier not to know. Even when the clarity requires you to dismantle something and rebuild it with more accurate materials. Clarity is a gift because confusion is exhausting in a way that most people do not fully account for. The specific, low grade, persistent exhaustion of living in a situation you cannot quite read, of navigating a relationship or a dynamic or a history that keeps producing responses in you that you cannot fully justify with what you know, of being right about something without the evidence to stand on, of doubting your own perception. because your perception keeps arriving somewhere the available information does not support. That exhaustion ends when the secret comes out. Not immediately, not cleanly. There will be a different kind of work to do, but the specific exhaustion of navigating without the full map, that ends. And what replaces it in time with the specific patience that genuine integration requires is something I want you to hold as you receive what is coming. Ground, solid, accurate, this is what actually happened, ground beneath your feet. For perhaps the first time in this particular chapter of your life. One last thing, when it arrives, and it is arriving, resist the impulse to share it immediately. The information coming to you is significant enough to deserve time in your own hands before it goes anywhere else. Before you decide what to do with it, before you know how it changes things and in which direction and to what degree. Sit with it first in the specific, private, deeply interior way that you sit with the things that actually matter. Let it settle into its true shape before you respond to it. Because your response to this, whatever it is going to be important. And the best version of that response comes from someone who has had time to absorb what they received rather than someone who is still in the first shock of receiving it. Give yourself that time. You have waited this long for the full picture. A little more time to understand it fully is not a delay, it is wisdom. Tell me in the comments what this reading opened in you today. Tell me the one word for what lives in your chest right now as you sit with what has been said. Tell me if something in you already felt the pressure of what this reading is describing before you found it today. I read everything. Until next time, Virgo, something is moving toward you, something true, something that has been held in the dark for long enough that the dark can no longer contain it. And when it reaches you, when it finally completely undeniably reaches you, you will understand things about your own story that you have been reaching toward without the right information to grasp. The information is coming. The picture is completing, and what you see when it is complete will not break you. It will finally, after everything, make sense of you, to yourself, which is the only place it ever needed to make sense.